Hey, I'm Ryan Reynolds.
Recently, I asked Mint Mobile's legal team if big wireless companies are allowed to raise prices due to inflation. They said yes. And then when I asked if raising prices technically violates those onerous two-year contracts, they said, "What the f*** are you talking about, you insane Hollywood ass?" So to recap, we're cutting the price of Mint Unlimited from $30 a month to just $15 a month.
Give it a try at mintmobile.com/switch.
$45 up front for 3 months plus taxes and fees. Promo rate for new customers for limited time. Unlimited more than 40 gigabytes per month. Slows full terms at mintmobile.com.
Fall is here, and if you want to sleep in the coziest bed imaginable, you have to start with Boll & Branch's best-selling 100% organic cotton sheets. You'll spend every night wrapped in buttery, breathable softness and feel your sheets getting even softer with every wash. Discover the difference with Boll & Branch's 30-night guarantee. Plus, get 15% off and free shipping on your first set of sheets. Visit bollandbranch.com and use code BUTTERY. Exclusions apply. See site for details.
This episode is brought to you by Progressive Insurance. Do you ever find yourself playing the budgeting game? Well, with the Name Your Price tool from Progressive, you can find options that fit your budget and potentially lower your bills. Try it at progressive.com. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Price and coverage match limited by state law. Not available in all states.
Surviving Reality contains explicit content full of snark and sarcasm that may not be suitable for all audiences. Listener discretion is advised.
Hello and welcome to Surviving Reality.
I'm Corey.
And I'm Carly, and this is Real Housewives of Salt Lake City, Season 5, Episode 1, Costume or Couture?
It's hard to tell, if we're being honest, because I don't know.
It's a thin line between couture and costume.
Very much so. I mean, as much as folks in the fashion industries will pat themselves on the back, I will have to say, it can very easily go costumey.
We've seen it happen on Project Runway time and time again, so...
We've seen it on Sister Wives when Mary tries to dress like a footstool.
Like an ottoman? Mm-hmm. You're right, we have seen it there. Well, it wasn't just the atrocious fabric that Mary chose. It was also Christine's, I was going to say a Thumbelina costume, but, that's a new take.
Well, I think our original assessment was the Ren Fair.
It was Ren Fair.
It's a heavy, thick, almost curtain drapey fabric.
Well, we have an improvement here on Salt Lake City. Can we talk about it just right off the bat? Injected into my veins. I am so excited it is back. Secret Lives of Mormon Wives could never.
No.
They just do not compare. That was like the D-list compared to this.
Yeah. You know what got me, though, was how Whitney's hair ended up looking like Whitney from Secret Lives of Mormon Wives, too. That was the little flip curl that she was going for, the side part, or the down the middle.
So a lot of them go to the same salon. They go to Jizz.
They go to Jizz.
To get their hair done.
They get Jizz in their hair.
She's just doing the same haircut over and over again over there.
If it ain't broke, don't fix it. Please don't ever fix this.
Do you have the episode description?
The episode description for Costume or Couture is Lisa throws a Bezos party. Meredith confronts Whitney. Both Angie and Meredith seek apologies. That was all I had. That was on the Peacock one.
There's more. Lisa's friend Bronwyn. I almost said Browwyn. I am...
Oh, Brow. Robin.
I'm
Brow.
Still over on Sister Wives. Bronwyn brings a new level of sophistication, fashion, and a critical eye to the group.
Is that what she brought?
I don't know.
I don't think so.
We have to revisit the beginning of this description. What did you think I thought a Bezos party was?
Was everybody dresses up like Bezos and you underpay your workers and...
Make them come back to the office 5 days a week.
Make them pee in bottles in the warehouse and... Is that the party?
I thought that it was an interesting theme, but,
Better than a Musk party.
Don't speak French. Neither does Lisa. I heard it. I just plowed past it.
Bezos?
Why are you saying it?
Because all I do is Spanish, baby.
Okay.
That's all I got. Me llamo es Cody.
Are you interested in a rewrite?
Yeah, let's hear it.
Lisa confronts Whitney about 35 seconds of a podcast. Mary Cosby keeps a close eye on her purse. Angie tries to fill Monica's imitation designer shoes.
Well, I like how Mary's concern was not things coming out of her purse, but things going into her purse.
No, she's not worried about anyone stealing anything from her. She's worried about leaving the party and being framed for stealing food.
With bread. Just copious amounts of bread.
I love bread.
I love bread. I do too.
All right, before we jump in, some of you may not have been on the journey for the first 4 seasons of Real Housewives of Salt Lake City, but we will catch you up as we go. To tell you the truth, you really didn't have to watch them all. The last season was probably, you know what, the last 2 seasons, I would say, were very exciting.
Yeah, because season 3, we had Jen Shaw getting arrested.
By the feds.
The feds
during
were there.
a girls' trip.
Very impressive. And it was almost on camera. It was so close, but it's still a whole experience for viewing and watching, going back to that. If you don't want to be involved in that, jump in on season 4. That's a great time to jump in. You don't really need to know all the backstory. You get caught up and you formulate your own opinions about these people very quickly.
Yeah, and Bravo does a really good job of catching you up on fights that you missed or may not remember from a while ago, because it's really hard to keep track of who hates who on this show, on any Housewives show.
Because, oh my God, there was stuff that was coming up in this episode from 2 years ago.
Of course.
That we had to flash back to because there's no other context. So we'll get into that too.
So we obviously lost Jen Shaw after season 3. She's in prison. Spoiler alert.
Oh boy.
They replaced her with someone named Monica Garcia. I don't know, is that her name? She has multiple aliases.
She has a couple different aliases, mostly known as not Dita Von Teese. It was, what was it? The Von Teese account.
I've already erased it from my memory.
Yeah, because it was something, now we're going to have to make up what Von Teese it was. Because obviously, Dita Von Teese
just
always
go
comes
Dita.
up. It's okay, so we'll just call it Dita Von Teese because that's where she got the idea from.
So she has been, well, do we want to spoil it for everyone? Basically, Monica had stalked these women. She came onto the cast, pretended, supposedly the producers didn't know that she had been running this Instagram account and spreading rumors and lies and gossip about the other women on the show for years. And she was unveiled towards the end of the season as being a snake in the grass.
See, this is why Jen Affleck wasn't able to get a roster spot last season. They were full up. They knew what they were doing over here.
Everyone came for her during the tell-all of the show last season, so she's gone.
She
At
really
least for
thought,
now.
I think she really thought that she had this villain thing locked in, but everybody got sick of her very quickly. She went a little too hard. She leaned into it a little bit too much. So that's really all you need to know about season 4. So far, no other utterance of her has come up yet. They mentioned her briefly in passing about how we had a lot of other things to talk about at the tell-all, and that was who they were talking about.
So now our cast is returning. Lisa Barlow, Meredith Marks, Heather Gay, Whitney Rose, who have all been with us since the beginning. Mary Cosby is back as a full-time cast member. She was a friend of last season.
Which was very weird because it's hard to imagine this show without Mary Cosby at this point.
Angie K is returning. I'm not even going to attempt to say her last name. It is very Greek, and I'm very not. And then our new cast member is Bronwyn Newport, who we will meet in this episode, and I guess reserve judgment about because she has to be terrible too.
So is she the new official member then? Okay, because this was it was a dinner party where everybody was bringing their friend of who we're going to see for the rest of the season too. So this was like the big mixer at the beginning of the season where we just get introduced to everybody.
Look, they know that at any point in time, someone might get dropped from this cast. So everybody has friends popping up here and there who are trying to get on camera.
Tagging in, tagging out. It's just part of the business at this point. But we had a very dynamic intro here. Very dramatic.
Was so dramatic.
Oh my goodness. And I mean, they've done this multiple times. They do this as part of the Housewife franchise. They know how to sink the hook in very early on in the episode, in the season.
It felt like there was a lot at stake. I kind of was wondering, like, are we afraid that the future of mom talk may be in question here?
There was not a single concern about mom talk this entire episode, which was a wave of relief for me.
They were torn apart last season by Monica, and the group came together towards the end of things. But, of course, removing Monica has not magically healed them. And the first thing we hear out of the gate is that Lisa and Whitney have a problem now.
So Lisa does the most reasonable thing that you can do. She's going to host a Galentine's Day event because we're coming up on Valentine's Day. No boys allowed, though. It's just getting all of her closest friends, some closer than others, but she's not going to name names unless it's Whitney because she's got a problem with Whitney.
Closest friends and enemies. Now, she is mad about the fact that Whitney went on Nick Vile's podcast and called her a villain. I listened to the entire... Okay, I lied. I couldn't make it through the last 30 minutes, but I listened to almost the entire episode and gave up after she got beyond the part where she mentioned Lisa, which seriously was maybe a minute and a half of discussion. And then she went on to other things. At one point, they were talking about Vanderpump, like totally off topic, not even talking about Housewives. And she pretty much came for everyone on the cast at some point, aside from Angie. So I don't really know why Lisa took such offense.
Well, then we just have to assume that the last 30 minutes of that podcast was just Whitney bashing Lisa for the entirety of it.
Think I missed it?
Yeah, that was it. That was where all of it was. But it seems like that's not the case. Was this a theme? The Bezos party?
Kisses.
Well, I understand what Lisa was going for. But I think that was kind of missed on some people because as people are arriving, like Heather is wearing kind of a costume because she said she likes to get into a theme and Lisa has to correct her. It's not a theme, honey. Not a theme.
A theme cheapens the party.
Right. Yeah. So I feel like there was personal offense that was taken on a few of those. But then we have other folks who are walking in very over the top sort of things. But then we find out that this is just kind of everyday wear for these folks. So maybe it's not over the top.
My personal favorite was Angie and Mary walking in with the matching purses.
Yeah, because they were not getting along last season when Mary was very upset. Mary just doesn't like new people.
She doesn't like anybody.
Well, she doesn't like anybody. And then especially if you're new and you're thinking that you're friends just automatically from being on the show, she gets distance right away.
She confused everyone when she told Andy Cohen that she liked Angie. And Angie was like, really?
Yeah, Angie couldn't even believe it. Nobody can.
I am so excited for this because I think that storyline has a lot of potential that eventually Mary will turn on Angie for some reason, and it will be a very good explosion. I'm here for it.
That's going to be a good one.
I'm going to watch them be besties until then, though, because that's also hilarious.
It's entertaining to watch them get along, but it will be equally entertaining, if not more entertaining, to watch them fight.
Do you think that the producers knew that Mary was going to need someone who she considered a friend because otherwise she wouldn't show up to things?
That was probably a big part of it.
Because last season she would just sit in the van a lot, or she'd be like, "Can you take me to McDonald's?" Well, because she's a vegan all of a sudden this episode.
She was a friend of, so there was kind of like a demotion last year because they weren't sure if the new folks were going to be able to pick up the villain mantle, and there was plenty of villain stuff going on. So Mary was just there as comic relief.
I feel like she doesn't like being a full-time cast member, but she also hated being a friend of.
Yeah, so I think that's what they needed to show her, like, it could be worse. So let's just go ahead and roll with this and stay in it.
Of course, she's got to say things to Heather immediately. Heather has lost a lot of weight. She's much thinner than she was last season.
She's zumped up. She's not shy to talk about it here.
We're not judging the zumps.
No judgment.
No. But of course, Mary is.
Oh, Mary's there to judge. Yeah.
Yeah, right away. She's like, she does give her a compliment. You look pretty now.
You look pretty now because you didn't before.
Remember when she originally, like a few seasons ago, said that, what did she say about Heather?
She looked inbred.
That she looked
I believe was the direct quote. She said a lot of things.
Now she's pretty.
Yeah, now it's working for her.
So she's really been growing on Mary.
Which is quite the insult for Mary to throw around since she's married to her grandfather. So if anyone knows what looking inbred looks like.
Oh, they don't have children together.
Well, no, but like.
Now I'm confused.
I don't think so. I think she just married him. So, yeah, I mean, I would take her as very knowledgeable on that. She's a credible source.
I'm glad you brought that up because that is something that gets thrown in Whitney's face later on.
That's a deep track, though.
Bronwyn, what do we think of her? She comes in, she's wearing this heart-shaped fur jacket.
There's only 3 of them in the world. No big deal. One of them Rihanna has. One of them is right here in front of you, and one of them's in a museum. Kind of a big deal.
Can I tell you, when she said that, I thought one of them was going to be in Mary Cosby's closet.
Oh, Mary Cosby is all about this. She is here for this. She loves Bronwyn. They are hitting it off on the couch. And then who came in? Whose friend of was that?
Brittany. So that's Heather's friend of.
Okay. So maybe that's why all of Mary's hatred for Heather has just fallen to Brittany for this season, because that's where she's going to steer that and direct that, because they're not hitting it off.
No, well, it's kind of Brittany's fault, because she sits down and you're sitting in between Mary and Bronwyn, and she makes a comment about Bronwyn's jacket looking like a costume.
And that's where you immediately lost Mary and Bronwyn. So they're trying to figure this out. I will be honest, though. Bronwyn is way too much.
Can I tell you, I'm just going to call her Bron. I can't handle saying Bronwyn.
Bronzer.
But
it's exhausting. Being around people like this drain me mentally, physically, in every way, shape, and form.
Well, when we first met her and they explained that her background is that she's friends with Lisa Barlow, immediately I knew that we were supposed to hate her.
It sounds like they don't even get along.
No, they met in a Nordstrom's when they were shopping, and Lisa was wearing sweatpants, and she was like, "Who is this talking to me?" And then they became friends.
I don't think they became friends. They didn't become friends then. And even if you ask Bronwyn, she was like, yeah, it wasn't until way later.
Explain the sweatpants, Lisa. What was that about?
No judgment.
Sweatpants are all that fits me right now.
Oh, because they're Costco brand. It's like the worst thing ever.
It was.
I guess so, yeah.
Apparently, it almost derailed this friendship.
But oh my God, when they flash back to the meal that Bronwyn and Lisa had before this Bezos party, that outfit wasn't any more toned down, I don't think.
No, she's coming with the Lady Gaga outfit. She's going to be just meat pinned to her at some point.
It's over the top. It's too much. And then she's like, oh, I've never tried to do this for attention. And it's like, I would like
I highly do not believe
respectfully disagree with that statement.
I don't think that she's going to be able to share screen time with Lisa Barlow, who's talking about her $60,000 ring. There's no way. They're going to compete for attention constantly.
She also strikes me, it's odd where she seems like a voice of reason in a lot of things. So to have someone who is going to be wearing a full Lady Gaga meat suit to be like, all right, let's calm down. Let's think through this and
one overreact.
Let's work through these emotions because you guys look ridiculous right now.
This is the height of fashion. I think you're right about that. I hated Brittany more.
Brittany just kind of clashed. She wasn't really finding any spot to fit in, and she's very forgettable for me.
Agreed. Your claim to fame is that you recently broke up with Donnie and Marie Osmond's nephew?
That's not impressive to me.
Like, why do they even... I don't care. You didn't need to tell me that detail because I don't care about it.
Heather was very impressed by this. She's like, that's like royalty in Mormon culture.
Can you imagine the producers on this show? It's like last season, we had a woman who was stalking you and sending you fake DMs to make you guys want to hate each other and rip each other apart and spreading lies and rumors about you across the internet for years. This year, you bring
lies and rumors.
You bring us a woman who just broke up with Donnie and Marie's nephew? That's the best you got?
We're going to have to step it up. We're a little disappointed.
Hey, I'm Ryan Reynolds.
At Mint Mobile, we like to do the opposite of what Big Wireless does. They charge you a lot, we charge you a little. So naturally, when they announced they'd be raising their prices due to inflation, we decided to deflate our prices due to not hating you. That's right. We're cutting the price of Mint Unlimited from $30 a month to just $15 a month.
Give it a try at mintmobile.com/switch.
$45 up front for 3 months plus taxes and fees. Promo rate for new customers for limited time. Unlimited more than 40 gigabytes per month. Slows full terms at mintmobile.com.
My dad works in B2B marketing. He came by my school for career day and said he was a big ROAS man. Then he told everyone how much he loved calculating his return on ad spend. My friends still laugh at me to this day.
Not everyone gets B2B, but with LinkedIn, you'll be able to reach people who do. Get a $100 credit on your next ad campaign. Go to linkedin.com/results to claim your credit. That's linkedin.com/results. Terms and conditions apply. LinkedIn, the place to be to be.
She's off to a bad start, though. The jacket comment. Then she says something mistakenly to Mary about putting bread in her purse. What was this?
So, okay, it was starting off where Mary was trying to say that she grew up in a big family, and then Brittany saw that as an in for her to find commonality with her, but then she mentioned that she grew up poor, and Mary was like, I didn't say I grew up poor. You grew up poor. Okay, that's your story. That's not me, honey.
I just grew up with a lot of siblings.
I just had a big family. I didn't say I was poor. And so Brittany then has to kind of steer, redirect, recover now. And she's talking about how she used to slip bread into her purse at restaurants so she could have food later or something.
Same girl.
Does that sound? Yeah. Just prepare your purse for that situation then. Just have like a little Ziploc or something in there. So, because I think that's what upset Mary the most, was having food in your purse.
Just
that's a
loose
big problem.
in your bag.
Yeah, if you're just shoving loose food items into your purse, I would agree that's probably not the best way to go about that.
Look, I don't think the details of it being loose in her purse was the thing that upset Mary.
I think the idea of bread getting into Mary's purse, that is what upset Mary. And it becomes a very real concern for her.
Who else do we catch up with? We catch up with Meredith. We get to see a flashback that apparently she recently had yet another breast reduction.
They just won't take.
They won't take it. They just keep growing back.
She is regenerating at a rate that no one can compare.
It's got to be all the pills. There's a toxic concoction in her body.
Okay, so it's either that. I don't think that would be regenerating, though. I feel like this is just her way of always having a pain pill prescription available.
Oh, that's
She's
a good thought.
constantly dealing with breast reduction surgeries they won't take. And that's why she always has a script. I did love that they put her in the bubble bath for the intro.
Well, the bath is her thing, Corey.
The bath is her thing, and that's what she's upset about. That's why she cannot believe that Whitney is launching a line of bath products. The bath is her thing.
So this is all very confusing. On the couch at the tell-all, she told Andy Cohen, not Whitney, this is Meredith told
This
Andy.
is general.
That she wanted to start a bath products brand because we've very clearly seen her on the show talk about how she needs a bathtub anytime they go on a girls' trip. She needs to sit and soak in a tub. And then Whitney, who already ripped off her last business idea because she opened a jewelry brand, which, as if it can't just be a coincidence that someone else has an interest in designing jewelry.
I feel like, there's a lot of crossover amongst the interests in this group.
You're right. The interest, it's a little shallow.
So
the pool doesn't go too deep.
Yeah, you're bound to have, it's about as deep as the bathtub. So, you're bound to have a couple of businesses that look strikingly similar, but nothing like My Sister Wife's Closet, thankfully.
Who else are we with? With Lisa, we find out a little bit what's been going on with her. Jack did actually go on his mission. At one point, people were convinced that he had not left.
He made it. He's in Colombia.
And he is having the time of his life.
He's ordering coffee?
He's going to Michelin star restaurants.
Well, he's scouting Michelin star restaurants for when Lisa and her husband come visit.
It was completely lost on her that the way she introed that too was that he is learning so much. You would think that he was learning about another culture, other people. The whole idea is that they're supposed to be going and talking about their religion and spreading their ideas and their gospel. And that's not what the phone calls home are about.
No, we're just here to dish. And I hope he's drinking cold caffeine because these coffees that he's ordering, they better not be hot because that's
Lisa
not
doesn't
good.
care about that.
That's not good on the mission. If you're on the mission, you got to be careful.
She needs to know where the Diet Coke is. He's got to be figuring that out.
Well, I think that was that Lisa? Yeah, she had big ass sodas in her intro.
Oh, she always has a soda.
So we saw those.
She
that
needs
was
a
good.
crispy Diet Coke at all times.
Absolutely. I love that her storyline here and kind of what we get at the beginning of this party is that she extended an invite to Whitney to come to this party, and she's just shocked that Whitney has actually showed up. So it's like, I feel like she's kind of regretting extending the invite because she thought that this was just a courtesy invite that would not be accepted.
I don't understand why she thought she wouldn't come, though, because she has no idea that you're upset with her.
Yeah, so I don't know why she assumed that Whitney would not be able to show up at this event.
Well, you know what it is? She is so self-centered and shallow that she truly believes that Whitney is thinking about what she said on that podcast and would not come to her party because of that.
The 30 seconds that were shared on the podcast. But these flashbacks, can we talk about the production quality of this season so far? I'm impressed with the flashbacks. I wish that this was more widely accepted in some of the other shows that we watch as far as how to do flashbacks, because we know Sister Wives loves a good old sepia tone flashback, but they're just not cutting it. You got to add a little bit more flavor here. They're doing echoey voiceover lines that take you in and out of the flashbacks to provide the context for what's going on. What are we getting out of this flashback? What do we need to know in this moment that we don't have to watch an entire boring scene from 2 weeks ago?
And sometimes we only watch a couple of seconds.
And
we don't have to watch an entire scene of somebody came over and ate lunch and we have to watch the whole 45 minutes of it.
That's it. You didn't need to spread that conversation into 3 segments. It's just about as much airtime as what Whitney gave to Lisa's story on that podcast interview.
Well, you want to go to the party? Right off the bat, we have a confrontation because Meredith walks in, beelines to Whitney.
Okay, so this is a very quick confrontation, and it wasn't the one I was expecting to see first, but we'll jump right in with it. So yeah, Meredith confronting Whitney about the bath bombs, but it seems like Meredith has had a couple drinks already, so Whitney doesn't really know what she's confronting her about. She's like, what are you saying, bath bombs? Bums? What are you saying? You're slurring right now. Are you okay?
No, she's never okay.
No. Meredith is always just a little bit fucked up. The right amount of fucked up.
Well, in this time, it made her a little docile, don't you think?
She did back down very quickly because then she was met with, there was an opposition that was presented from Whitney, and Meredith was not prepared to defend her stance.
Well, because Whitney's confused. She's like, I have always sold bath bombs, girl. Remember when you used to buy products from me to stock in your store? We sold bath bombs.
And so then Meredith's like, I don't recall that.
She doesn't know the SKU. She's not familiar.
Yeah, she didn't know that those were listed on the website for everyone to buy.
She doesn't doubt it, though. She doesn't fight her on it. She's like, oh.
She backs down pretty quick.
Huh.
But this isn't out of the ordinary because then they flash back to, it's another confrontation that happened. Meredith just seems to really have an aptitude for these outdoor confrontations of coming up to Whitney and just throwing something at her that has apparently been on her mind and she needs to get off her chest right now, like her many breast reduction surgeries. It's not the only thing.
I love it. I love it. I like that she doesn't just stew on something. She will come and march right up to you and say, well, you know what? I take it back. She does stew on things too.
She does both.
Yeah. You never know what you're going to get. Depends what combination of pills and alcohol you have that day.
But that's the theme for this entire episode. Everybody wants an apology. Everyone is expecting apologies, but we're not really sure on who's supposed to be apologizing to whom at this point. It's hard to keep track because we're just getting thrown into this. This is the first episode. We're trying our best.
So Angie, that's the next topic here. She doesn't even let Meredith and Whitney end their conversation.
No.
It's very bachelorette. I'm gonna steal you for a moment.
Yeah, she's cutting in, and Whitney just kind of gets elbowed out of this conversation and just wanders away, very confused at what's just taken place here. And Angie is here to collect on her apology from Meredith.
What she seems to be the most mad about is at one point, well, I don't know, would you be more mad about somebody accusing your family of being in the Greek mafia or saying that they would sue you and take your house?
That's the one that she's really upset about.
The house thing.
Yeah, losing the house.
Also, we're not repeating, I guess, the rumors last season that everybody said about her husband.
Yeah, I think we've been able to distance from that. Because
also, that went down on the list.
There were some allegations.
About.
Oh, I'm sure she wrote it down on. She whips out an entire scroll. Everyone is referring to it as a scroll, and the sound clip that they kept playing when people would mention the scroll was getting me.
What was it?
I don't even remember what it was, but there was
it was unfurling?
Well, there was that, but there was like when people were talking about the scroll, it was like a like kind of
I gotcha, a little religious thing in there.
Sting. Yeah, so she has the scroll.
I found it very performative, personally.
It was very much so.
I didn't like it because I felt like Angie came into this season. So something that was actually interesting in the podcast, Nick Vile's podcast that I listened to, was that at one point someone on the podcast called Angie boring. And then she came into the season hot like this. And it made me think that maybe we're trying to project an image of ourselves that's going to keep us on the show long term. And the minute that she saw an argument taking place, she inserted herself into it and tried to take over the camera time by pulling out this scroll that she prepared ahead of time.
And here's a good feedback note. If people think you're boring, hang out with Mary Cosby.
A prop, though. The prop that Monica brought, I think it was inspiring to Angie. Remember she brought the burn book to the reunion?
Yes. She was taking notes on that, on her scroll, perhaps. And then she was able to fabricate that and then bring that here. Mary Cosby's even impressed with just the sheer amount of effort that went into this. So say what you will about Angie. She's not lazy. She's working hard.
The funniest part of this episode was when Lisa tells them to open the barn door for dinner. Was it a barn door? It was like a warehouse door.
It was squeaky. I don't know why
the entire way up, it squeaked.
Yeah. So there was a point that they needed to include that. I don't know if they needed to, but it did help kind of undercut and understate the high class affair that Lisa thinks she's throwing, which doesn't have a theme, which clearly has a theme.
Angie gets right back into it as soon as they sit down for dinner. She's trying to start a fight with Meredith. They're not even sitting near each other at the table. So she's trying to talk as loudly as she possibly can so that Meredith can hear her. And Bronwyn's like, can you tone it down a little bit? I'm right across the table from you. I'm hearing the whole thing and I'm not interested. I'm not getting a chance to talk about myself.
And are we done talking about the house thing? I think we can go ahead and put a line in the sand, move past it. We're just going to ignore that, not talk about it anymore. And Angie's like, I agree 100%. And the other thing about the house is that it was just so upsetting to me. She cannot stop talking about this house comment and how upset she got. So Bronwyn had to try 3, 4, maybe 5 times to get her to just drop this topic. Nobody wants to hear you talking about this anymore.
Well, welcome to a Housewives dinner. This is how they all typically go.
I like that Mary was trying to switch the name tags on the seating arrangement.
She didn't want to sit near Brittany.
Brittany was a little too close for comfort. So
she can reach into my bag.
Oh, yeah, she's going to drop a piece of bread or two into there. So, yeah, Mary's got to hold on to her purse.
I'm surprised she didn't have it in her lap the whole time.
Yeah, that would have been great. Every time you cut to Mary and she just has her purse in her lap. Because that's totally something she would do.
I'm going to need you to step it up.
Oh, man, that would have been a perfect opportunity. That's some content right there.
Whitney's playing dumb about the whole podcast thing because she's hearing Lisa start to talk about it now. And she's like, what do you mean? What podcast?
The podcast where you talked about me for like 2 hours.
By the way, Whitney has a podcast too. So.
Oh, do you think? Well, maybe Meredith didn't know that because Meredith doesn't know the businesses that Whitney is actually involved in. She just knows the ones that align with her.
Yeah, but the fights between Lisa and Whitney.
Yeah, I know. I'm just saying.
Well, none of them know she has a podcast, just like they didn't read Heather's book.
Nobody, is indulging in any of the businesses that anyone else is doing.
No, Whitney also did not take the opportunity to name drop her podcast. So.
Right. Well, this just ends up being, there's an accusation where Lisa is saying, Whitney, you lied about me. And Whitney's like, what was the lie? Can you explain what I lied about? And Lisa doesn't really have anything to go on because, again, she didn't go back and listen to the podcast. So she has nothing to base this on. She's basing it off of things that she's heard secondhand from other people.
I was going to say she has not listened to it.
Not at all.
1,000%.
Look, we're podcasters. We know when somebody tells you that they listen to your podcast when they clearly haven't listened to the podcast.
We have a lot of experience.
We know what that's like. So Whitney's over here trying to piece it together because she is already understanding Lisa does not know what she's talking about here.
She's not playing with a full set of cards.
Yeah, so she doesn't have the whole story here.
All that she said was that they're basically talking about now Monica's gone, who's going to be the villain. And she said, well, we have Lisa. Lisa's the villain. She's been the villain.
But then what comes up now is that there's other pieces of information that are coming out where then Whitney is accusing, there's accusations that are flying around now where Lisa's getting upset about who told you that, because there's only 2 people at this table who were aware of this. And so now we get into a witch hunt of information.
And unfortunately, there's only 2 suspects. So it's very likely that we're going to figure out who it is. It was either Heather or it was Angie.
I had a guess of who it was going to be, and I was right.
Really? At first I thought it was Heather, because Heather's a little messy like that, but she and Whitney are not as close as they used to be.
That's what I attributed this to, because they had their fight last season about the book and how Whitney was upset about how Heather exploited her vagina, as she said. And that gets yelled at the top of her lungs at some point in this argument, too.
Which was really just Heather talking about how she did a boudoir shoot with Whitney at some point.
And everything that Heather wrote in her book, she gave it to Whitney to read and approve ahead of time. Whitney clearly did not read it, but just approved it and then got upset about what was published.
Or pretend to be upset about what was published.
Well, I feel like it goes back to our theme of none of these people are actually supporting each other here. Nobody's taking a shared interest in what's going on in the other people's businesses here.
I almost forgot that Whitney was the one who made up that rumor about how Lisa was sleeping with her business partners in order to get jazz tickets.
Okay, so that was from 2 years ago, and that was at the lingerie party, because then these were women who were dressed scantily clad and arguing. It was the most uncomfortable thing I've ever seen on television.
It's just stuck in your memory.
Yeah, that was in there.
Yeah, I think that's more offensive than her getting on a podcast and saying that you're the villain of the show.
So I think Lisa's still upset about that. And
of course she is. She brought it up.
Yes, and they've never fully addressed this. So now we're bringing up some really old stuff. Whatever else is in there, that's what I'm upset about.
Hey, this is Justine from Two Black Girls, One Rose, and I'm here to tell you about Zola. How weird does it feel to be called someone's fiance? The first time you hear it, you do a double take. From there, it's let's enjoy this moment, turns into we're planning a fall wedding, and I am right there right now. That's where Zola comes in. From a venue and vendor discovery tool that matches you with your dream team to save the dates, website, and an easy-to-use registry, Zola has everything you need to plan your wedding in one place. Start planning at Zola.com. That's ZOLA.com.
My dad works in B2B marketing. He came by my school for career day and said he was a big ROAS man. Then he told everyone how much he loved calculating his return on ad spend. My friends still laugh at me to this day.
Not everyone gets B2B, but with LinkedIn, you'll be able to reach people who do. Get a $100 credit on your next ad campaign. Go to linkedin.com/results to claim your credit. That's linkedin.com/results. Terms and conditions apply. LinkedIn, the place to be, to be.
It really starts to heat up, though, when Whitney then makes a bold statement that she has never lied.
That was a little bit too far. Yeah, because if you're going to make that claim at this table, you are going to have an army of people ready to provide you with examples of how wrong you are.
The book gets brought up right away. Heather's like, Bad Mormon, my book that you should buy on Amazon or at Barnes & Noble. You lied about what happened in that. And then Meredith was mad about something, about all the things she's lied about over the past 4 seasons. They literally have receipts.
It was a very, who here has ever felt personally victimized by Regina George situation? And everyone else decided to raise their hands.
I did like that Lisa called her out. She called Whitney out for being morally superior or acting that way to everyone ever since she started this healing journey that she's on. Again, Whitney has a lot of trauma from being raised in their religion and from various things that have happened in her life. And she's been making that a real focus of her story over the last few seasons. But she has been acting like that. When you say that you've never lied,
it's a bit of a stretch.
It's a stretch. You never, it's not true. Also, I don't need to see them do another sound bath this season.
Those are fun, though. Might get more of those. I feel like I was upset with Lisa, though, because she is weaponizing the way that Whitney describes it as Lisa is weaponizing Whitney's trauma against her. So to that point, I get it. I think what she needed to stay with, because the passive aggressive things that Lisa's saying is always keep healing and good luck on your healing journey. She's using those.
Love the text. Keep healing.
The praying hands.
2 praying hands and a heart.
Was it a 2 thumbs up in a row?
Mm-hmm, that's exactly
from
what
Heather?
it was.
Yeah, that was 2 praying hands because she didn't actually mean it. But so I think it's from that perspective of using that as like a derogatory statement to Whitney is not right. So that's where it's upsetting in that way. I think what she needed to focus on was you have a superiority, a holier than thou sort of attitude now, and that's the problem. So it's not that she's doing therapy. It's that her attitude is and her ego is getting inflated by this.
Okay. Can I give you a hot take?
Okay.
That I think no one's going to agree with?
Yeah, let's hear it.
They can never make me hate Lisa Barlow.
Okay. Oh, boy. So there's your problem right there.
Everyone just shut the podcast off. I got to tell you, she does not know that she's funny, which entertains me. I don't mind that she's shallow. She's entertaining when she talks about stupid shit. I will watch her drive around Utah getting Diet Cokes. Like, I don't care. I know everybody hates her. I know they're trying to make her the villain this season.
And it's not that I hate her. It's just in that instance, I will always take a judicial approach here. I will assess the situation and see what's going on.
All right, fair enough. We'll see how they behave the rest of the season.
I'm not going to say, that like everything that Lisa does is bad. It's not that. It's everybody and every situation needs to be assessed.
Of course, it doesn't end well. Whitney stands up from the table. She tells Lisa to fuck off. She flips the bird.
Yeah.
And she storms out. And who follows along after her?
Angie, of course.
Of course. Again, I just felt like Angie trying to get some camera time, get involved in what's going on here with the scuffles between the women. I don't know. I'm very suspicious of her this season.
You think Angie's up to no good?
I think Angie wants to be involved in everything that's going on because she doesn't have much to contribute personally.
That's a fair assessment. I felt bad for the band, the live band that was there.
There was a live band?
There was a live band. There were dudes who were playing guitar up on a stage. Well, not even on a stage.
I did see someone laughing as they were walking out.
Yeah, because it was while Whitney was storming out, she put on her big, huge fur coat because everyone's wearing furs and all sorts of stuff. So the poor band guys are up there, but at least it's not a corporate gig. It could be worse. This
would be better.
In the grand scheme of things, there could be worse gigs.
There was a lot to see, a lot to hear.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, you're going to have a story to tell, for sure.
What did you think? That was the whole first episode.
Yeah, I think this season is going to be very, very good. And just based on the preview at the end of this episode alone, I think I'm most excited for, if you are a fan of Lisa, I think your favorite scene is going to be my favorite scene to anticipate here, was the lunch with the 8 Lisas dining out. Because when Lisa's trying to snatch a wig off Whitney's head, I think that's going to put me over the edge.
I'm very much looking forward to it.
It's going to be good.
I cannot wait to recap it all. I hope you come on this journey with us.
Be sure to subscribe to the podcast if you haven't already. And we'll be doing weekly episodes here on Friday mornings for the public feed, Thursday nights for the Patreon.
Thank you for listening. If you want to support us, the best way to do that is by subscribing to the podcast or leaving a review on Apple Podcasts or Spotify.
Be sure to chat with us about the episode on our Discord channel by joining our Patreon, patreon.com/survivingpod.
Stay tuned, share with friends. See you next time.
The new Boost Mobile network is offering unlimited talk, text, and data for just $25 a month for life.
That sounds like a threat.
Then how do you think we should say it?
Unlimited talk, text, and data for just $25 a month for the rest of your life?
I don't know.
Until your ultimate demise.
What if we just say forever?
Okay.
$25 a month, forever.
Get unlimited talk, text, and data for just $25 a month with Boost Mobile forever.
After 30 gigabytes, customers may experience slower speeds. Customers will pay $25 a month as long as they remain active on the Boost Unlimited plan.
Hi, this is Paige from Giggly Squad, and I want to talk to you about Splash Refresher and my water intake. Okay, so you guys obviously know that I'm a hydrated girly, but sometimes when you drink that much water, it starts to just taste bland, and you're just like, I need something to spice it up. That's why I love Splash Refresher. It has 0 sugar, 0 calories, and it's a splash of sweetness. And they come in 5 different flavors. They're so good. Wild berry, acai grape, pineapple mango, lemon, and mandarin orange. My favorite is the wild berry because I just love a berry. So if you're like me and you're drinking water all day, then try Splash Refresher. It's going to absolutely change your water game, and it's good for you.
Hey, it's Mark Marin from WTF here to let you know that this podcast is brought to you by Progressive Insurance. And I'm sure the reason you're listening to this podcast right now is because you chose it. Well, choose Progressive's Name Your Price tool, and you could find insurance options that fit your budget, so you can pick the best one for your situation. Who doesn't like choice? Try it at Progressive.com. And now, some legal info. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Price and coverage match limited by state law. Not available in all states.